Hi, my name is Robert Shelide. I'm Chief of Police for Shelby Township, and welcome to Straight Talk. Today we have a very special show. We have two of our finest young officers on the street, Officer Paul Fox and Officer Paul Sorbo, and then we have our Detective Lieutenant Jason Schmiller. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Great to have you. Jason, welcome back. And
Morning,
we've been on
Chief.
a few
Thank
times. Today we're going to be talking about something that happened last week, a dynamic situation that unfolded on Ryan Road back on last Tuesday, the 16th. We had an attempt home invasion at a home on Ryan Road. A 32-year-old mother was home alone with her 2.5-year-old child, and husband had just left for work probably about 10 or 15 minutes earlier, and she noticed a white male with a bald head in the back of the house trying to break in her house. She did the right thing and called the police immediately, and believe it or not, a lot of people don't do that. They call loved ones, they call neighbors. You need to call the police, and she did a great job by calling us.
In the hallway. Right behind my bathroom and bedroom. Like by the front of the house, kind of.
What are you hearing right now?
Nothing.
All right, hold on a minute.
Thank you.
Do you have a suspect and any information on what he looks like, ma'am?
He's wearing a brown jacket and he looks bald.
Within 1 minute of her phone call, Officer Paul Sorbo showed up and went running to her rescue. Within 3 minutes, our entire shift had the house surrounded, made entry into the house, secured the location, and discovered that the person who was trying to break in was gone. However, being police officers, we weren't accepting of that, and we spread out our perimeter about a half mile in a bunch of different directions, and Officer Paul Fox, with the help of Officer Jim Malszewski, was able to spot the suspect and put him into custody. Upon putting the suspect into custody, they discovered the person was wanted for murder out of Warren Police Department from a bludgeoning death of a 62-year-old grandmother from the week before. So I want to start with Officer Sorbo first. Paul, you were the first one on the scene over there. You were a minute away. First of all, what were you doing in the area?
Well, just based on obviously the whole weekend with this guy being at large, obviously everybody working the road was trying to look for him and hoping that we could find him and obviously get him off the street. That day in particular, I was down in the area off of Auburn and Ryan, just checking for him in the wooded areas and driving through the parks. And then I had spoke with the lieutenant, reference a possible bike that he had maybe stolen. So I was in an apartment complex just down the street checking for that bike when the call came out.
Okay, and now he was spotted in our town on Saturday morning around 12:30, so it's like 3 days before he was spotted.
Correct.
And roughly in that area, and so the guys thought he might still be bedded down there, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just from speaking to residents too, when we were driving around, obviously everybody was a little on edge down there. So when we were driving down streets, I mean, even that morning, I had people coming out asking what the status was, telling us, if they saw anything suspicious. So I mean, I think everybody down there was looking for him. So.
Now, you're a pretty intense guy. I've heard from your partners that you don't even like to talk to officers in the morning. You don't like to get a coffee. You want to get right on the road and start patrolling. Now, this day in particular, I heard they were actually trying to hold you back physically because you're like a caged animal trying to get out there. Is that true?
I don't know if that sounds a little bit over the top, but no, I mean, at the time, I had been off the whole weekend. And so I was coming into work on Monday, and on Monday I was assigned up into the north end. Okay. So obviously, I was thinking using the south end, so I can't really go down there technically unless we have calls. So when I got the south end assigned to me on Tuesday, I just kind of wanted to go down there and say, you know what, I'll go walk, we'll drive through river bends, walk some trails, and from growing up in the township, just see if I could find a spot where we maybe even was before to pass along to the marshals or pass along to somebody else.
Okay. Walk me through that morning. It's about 8:52 a.m. You're in the area, and you hear the call come out that a white male with a bald head is trying to break into a location. What are the first thing going through your mind?
Right when I was in the apartment complex, I mean, the minute the call came out, just based on the area, I mean, I already thought, okay, maybe there's a shot that it's him. Okay. We didn't really get the clothing description. I mean, I was a couple blocks away, and I didn't really get the clothing description until I was turning onto Ryan from West Utica. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I mean, it's probably going to be him, just based on the location and the fact that their house backs up to the woods. Okay. So my whole thing was, obviously, with any call in progress, there's a child and a mother there, so their safety is priority number one, so I just wanted to get there.
Okay, great job. Congratulations, we're very proud of you, and our residents are proud of you also.
Thank you.
Now, Officer Fox, you had a little different role over here. You expanded the perimeter as soon as you realized, and you were one of the officers that actually cleared the house, correct?
Yes, sir. Once we cleared the house and we deemed it safe for her to go back inside, Sergeant Barnard actually advised us to set up a perimeter and stand by for a K-9. As soon as I rolled out to Spring Hill apartment complex, I saw some people out front of the clubhouse area, and he just didn't fit in. I thought maybe just for a second that he was with the employees, but he was wearing the jacket and the coveralls. When he stepped away, I knew immediately it was him.
Okay.
Physical description and everything. So I don't think he understood that I was the police because I'm in a slick top car.
Okay.
So as soon as I rolled out of the car, I think he was surprised and shocked who I was.
Okay.
And being on the business end of a rifle, he gave up immediately.
Now, one of the things I know you used your patrol rifle to order him down to the ground. It's a very intimidating sight, the weapon is. And what were your thoughts versus getting a rifle out or digging your handgun out?
I already had the rifle out at that
Gotcha.
point. So the second that I got out of the car, it was on my person right away.
Okay.
So
now, Officer Sorbo, you had also a different role over there. Not only did you get over to the house first, but you came back around, and I believe that you were like literally right there when Officer Fox and Officer Malcheski grabbed the suspect. Okay, so when they turned him over, what happened? Walk me through this. Who wants to talk about it?
go ahead, Paul.
Obviously, when we pulled up, he had him at the rifle and they were putting him in handcuffs. And right when they rolled him over, we all kind of started looking at each other. And I think everybody kind of had that thought of, hey, listen, this is probably him. And then from looking at his hair, you could tell he did a pretty terrible job of shaving his head. And there were still patches of hair. And then obviously Officer Malcheski noticed his teeth, like he said. But I think we were all just, as soon as everybody saw who it was like scoring a touchdown. Everybody started high-fiving and was happy that we got him off the street.
I spent some time last night reviewing the 1,300 comments that were up on our Facebook page. 1,300 comments, 3,500 likes, 1,200 shares. The comments were staggering and flattering. And let me tell you the common theme out of all the comments. Thank you. Thank you for getting this guy on the street. The people were legitimately scared. Our residents were scared. Our women that were home alone. Our mothers were home and scared. And you guys eradicated that in about 15 minutes worth of great police work. I'm very proud of you. Great job. Now, Officer Sorbo, you this is not your first go with a big deal. I know back at Crystal Lake Apartments last January, a week before I got hired here, I was actually down in Florida with my family on vacation, and I got notified that you were on Good Morning America from the Crystal Lake apartment fires. And I know you're a very humble guy. Basically what happened is you ended up helping save a young child that was thrown off the second balcony floor to you, and then you climbed up to the third floor and were able to rescue an elderly gentleman and his dog and lead him to safety. The issue got national attention. You were also a recipient of a couple great awards. The Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police gave you one of their highest medals. The First Hunter Club of Detroit has been around for 60 years, one of the most honorable and noble organizations around to support police officers and firefighters' families after they're deceased. Recognize you with a Valor Award. So you have some hardware in your collection right now, and I know you're a humble guy, and I want to tell you on behalf of the Shelby Township residents, we're very proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Officer Fox here, you have a very unique story to tell also. You're one of the only police officers I've ever encountered in my 30-year history that have a SAG card. And for what a SAG, why don't you tell the residents what a SAG card is?
Well, Chief, the a SAG card is from the Screen Actors Guild. When they were filming Batman Superman a couple years ago in town, I had a small opportunity as an extra. I happened to get bumped up that day, and I have a small scene in the movie.
Okay, did you have a talking part?
That unfortunately got cut,
Okay.
but yeah, I was able to get my SAG card through that, and so
Well, it's pretty exciting.
it was very exciting.
Do you know any other police officers at all that you've ever encountered that actually have a SAG card?
Not that I don't think that's a very common thing for police officers.
Correct. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing, to be honest with you, and I'm proud of you for having it.
Yeah, well, in LA it'd be a great thing.
Yeah.
But in Detroit, not so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jason, I want to move over to you. We've had not only this arrest of Ionati, but we had a couple major arrests in the township over the last couple months I want to discuss with you. Let's start talking about the 7-Eleven armed robbery that happened a few weeks ago.
Sure, Chief. The 7-Eleven robbery happened August 5th. It was early morning. It was about 12:30 in the morning. Hold-up alarm officers responded to the store. While en route, they received information that a subject did hold a knife to the girl who was working there and held her up, demanded money.
Okay.
Upon their arrival, she gave a great description of him, head to toe. She gave up his tattoos, what he was wearing. He walked with a limp. Very specific information. She also provided us information on his vehicle. Although the plate was a little bit different, we were able to use that later on and match up and find the car.
Okay, all right. We put this picture out on Facebook. Okay, we had over 180,000 views within 24 hours on the Facebook page. Was this instrumental in helping identify the suspect?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The commander that night, Sergeant Trumbull, immediately put it out. When I saw the log, when I woke up in the morning, I knew exactly what happened. My detective was already in and investigating the case. By the time I poured my first cup of coffee, it was on the news. It was on the 6 o'clock morning news, and by 9 o'clock, that suspect was identified.
Our social media presence is fantastic. We have one of the most dynamic social media presence in the Southeast Michigan area, and what most people don't understand is we're using our presence to solve crime. Am I correct?
Absolutely. It's a valuable tool, and actually people are starting to model us for the program that we have, that we've implemented throughout the last year.
I had a talk with some friends of mine in law enforcement, and I know that they were trying to get their police department up to speed with social media. They've been over here, they've had meetings with Leslie and everything, and they're just not getting it. And I asked, I said, why aren't they committed to that? I said, what's going on? And Leslie said that it's got to be a commitment from top all the way down. You know what I mean? We have to have commitment at every level. Obviously, Leslie's only as good as the information she gets provided by the guys and everything, and I think everyone understands now the dynamic of Leslie being able to give our residents information and send her pictures and tell her what's going on so she can put them up. And the people they're at home and they want to know what's going on in the community, and we have a right to keep them informed. Are you in agreement with
I believe that too, and it's not only our residents that are looking at it. There's people all throughout southern Michigan and everywhere else that's also monitoring that site. And the media pays attention to it also, and they took that video and put it out there even before we released it anywhere else. So it was a great tool. We
have almost 14,000 followers. Leslie has a mandate to catch the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. I think they're up on us about 400 or 500 people right now. However, they're a 1,700 person agency, and we're a 86 person agency. And so bottom line is, she told me it's on, and she's going to catch him eventually and pass him, and I'm sure it'll be some teeter-tottering for a while, but that's her goal right now, and I'm encouraging it. So bottom line is, from the time this robbery happened, how long did it take for us to have the armed robbery suspect in custody?
By 1:30, he was apprehended. We had him identified by 9 a.m. Okay. We were working on locations to pin him down. In the meantime, Macomb Violent Crime Task Force provided us some information. We worked directly with that unit, and they helped us establish some surveillance. And ultimately, we saw the suspect leave in the vehicle with somebody else, and they were taken off on a traffic stop.
Okay, so roughly about 13 hours.
Correct.
Now, this is the third business of armed robbery of a business since we've had in my tenure as chief over the last 20 months. We had the one at Coney Island. He was caught in progress by the patrol division.
Correct.
And then we had the check cashing store, and he was in it. We caught him. It took a couple months.
Correct.
But he was a serial robber. He was hitting all over the place. He had no ties, local ties to Shelby Township. I think he had a tie to Sterling Heights, if that's correct. But he was doing a lot of robberies up in the Lansing area. Kind of got off our radar. We were able to identify him and get him arrested. And then last one was the 7-Eleven robbery. So we're 3 for 3 right now. This sends a very clear message to anybody who thinks they're going to come to Shelby Township and commit any type of violent crime or crime with a gun, or any crime I should say. We're going to catch you, we're going to lock you up, and we're going to move forward, period. Are you in agreement with that?
Absolutely. We're going to be relentless. We're going to throw all our resources towards it. We're going to put your name out there. We're going to throw your picture out there. And we're going to reach out to the other organizations to help us.
Okay, thank you very much. Over the last 20 months, too, through my recollection, I may be wrong here, not only this attempt home invasion we had last week, but we had a home invasion where somebody was at home 3:30 in the morning sleeping. I don't remember any other home invasions where the people were actually home. Did we have any other beside people were actually home, other than one we're going to talk about in a moment?
No, not in the past year.
Okay, so these people are home at 3:30 in the morning, and they hear somebody in their house. What could be more scary than that?
The poor woman was asleep. It's everybody's worst nightmare. She heard some noise, wasn't sure if she was just dreaming about it or not, but next thing you know, she sees a light underneath the door. She opens the door, and there's our suspect staring at her. She engages him in conversation, and he takes off running. She did a great job of separating herself from him, calling the police, and thank God our officers were in the subdivision at the time.
I'm going to move back to one of the officers here. Actually, Officer Fox, you've worked midnights before. You're on patrol, and you hear the call come out, home invasion in progress. what's going on through your mind, and how quick are you going to try to get over there and help these people?
Any in progress call, obviously, you know that there's a potential for something to go very bad. You know, somebody's calling you because it's going on right in front of them, or they're witnessing it, or they're potentially in harm's way. So to get there as fast as possible, safely, without obviously endangering people on the street, is priority number one. And then the safety and, you know, controlling the scene for the person that's calling and getting them out of harm's way would be obviously right in the back of my mind also.
Now, you just got off nights. You were actually at this call we're going to talk about, or actually we are talking about. You were at the run that night.
Yes, sir.
Did you have a chance to speak to the resident?
Yes. Myself and Officer Stuglin both pulled up at the same time. Officer Stuglin approached her because she was staying outside of her garage. Obviously, she was very panicked. She still had the phone in her hand. And then I ran around the back just to obviously make sure that he wasn't in the house, because at the time she wasn't sure if he had left the house.
Okay.
She confronted him basically in her upstairs hallway.
Okay.
She came out of her bedroom and he was right there, and he took off running down the steps. So she wasn't sure if he had left the home or he was in the basement, or what the status was. She was very scared.
I mean, I'm scared hearing the story.
Yeah.
And I know that Officer Stuglin ended up making a stop in the neighborhood and stopped a mother driving around with a little baby in the back seat. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Tell us.
Officer Stuglin did a terrific job. Basically, with it being in progress and still trying to get there fast, as he was pulling into the subdivision, he observed a vehicle pass with a female driver. And upon arrival to the scene, he saw that same vehicle drive by about 30 seconds later while we were already on scene. So he notified other units in the area, and they were able to put a traffic stop on it. And that turned out, obviously, to be a female involved in this incident.
In one of my classes at University of Detroit I was taking, the guy was explaining, the professor was explaining to us that there is no such thing as master criminals. I would think that these people are the opposite end of a master criminal. Here the police are out in front of the scene, and she's driving by repeatedly with the police out front trying to pick up her boyfriend, the thief. I think there were 2 heroin addicts, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. She might as well have been driving by with her hands out the window and saying, "Please come get me." However, I don't want to detract from the work our officers did. There's police officers, and I've been on the job here for 30 years, that wouldn't have picked up on that. Okay, and I'm not saying at Shelby Township Police Department. At other departments I've worked with, there's guys that would never even process that, if it makes any sense. So our hats off to the officer. Officer Stuglin did a great job identifying that, hey, wait a second, something's wrong here, and stopped the car. And I think that's what law enforcement is all about. Police work, good police work, is going on your hunches and your intuitions and seeing stuff that doesn't look right. Officer Fox, what are your thoughts on that?
Anytime you have a crime in progress like that, and you have the officers on scene, it's important for everybody around to keep their head on a swivel and pay attention to the small details. And I think that's what helped Officer Stuglin in this case.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Now, guys, I want to talk about also, we had a call from mutual aid back a few days ago. It was the first time since I've been a chief here that we've called from mutual aid. And this was on a Saturday morning around 12:30. I think this was 3 days before Ionati was captured. And the mutual aid, Ionati showed up. Ionati, by the way, is the murder suspect who was wanted on a warrant, in case our residents aren't aware of this. He showed up at a house where his wife was, a estranged wife, and a baby, and walked onto the property. Jason, walk us through what happened.
He showed up at the house. He was confronted in the driveway, and he ended up fleeing the scene prior to officers' arrival. When the officers got there, they did establish a perimeter, and we reached out to the other departments. In this situation, I mean, we're looking for a homicide suspect, so we had to bring in everybody we had. I was contacted. We brought in our whole detective bureau, and Sterling Heights assisted, followed by Utica, the sheriff department through Macomb and Oakland. Macomb also sent their canine, which assisted our canine. We had 2 different tracks, and we searched for 7 hours. We had air support available, but the weather was just too bad.
Okay.
There was torrential rain, and the weather conditions were horrible. We had a huge area to search, and our TRU team also came in that night. They were able to clear yards, and they probably cleared yards within 3/4 of a mile, all the way to Riverbends Park, which is a huge area, checking cars, garages, and property.
I know you guys had about 35 guys out there total.
We did.
We're very appreciative of the other agencies sending people to help us. Obviously, we take this is probably the most serious thing we can do, and we have a dangerous murderer running on the loose. So we used all our resources. We spent 7 hours out there trying to put the person in custody, and obviously it didn't work out for us. However, 3 days later, he popped his head, and we grabbed him. So.
Well, there was some indication he might have still been in the area. We had some petty crimes that occurred throughout the weekend, and that information was pushed along to Warren and the Marshals Service. So everybody was working together. And on this case, we had a great conclusion. Nobody else got hurt, and he was taken into custody.
Now, I understand that our sergeant, we had a young sergeant out there, Sergeant Jeff Bellamo. He was in charge of our command center, and what I've been told, he did a great job running the scene.
He did. I saw it firsthand. And you know what? It was a lot of people. There was many things going on, and he kept track of all the officers. He noted everything that happened throughout that night, and I give him a big pat on the back. He did a great job.
Okay, I want to commend Officer Sergeant Bellamo.
Absolutely.
All right, boys, I want to go back to you guys before we wrap the show up. What's next for you? Officer Sorbo first. You're a very modest officer, but you're very well respected by everyone. You're great for the residents. What's next in your career? What are you looking forward to?
I don't. Today I got to go back to work and work the road today till 6, and then tomorrow's a new day. So we'll see what happens.
Day by day is how you take it.
Day by day. So
Officer Fox, you got the SAG card in your back pocket. I've heard through the microphone that there's a crowd out there waiting for you to sign autographs when we walk out of here. What's next for you?
I'll just stay focused on the traffic bureau and shagging my accidents and go and call the call.
Okay, and then last question for you. Your car, you called it a slick top earlier. I want to clarify for the residents what that is. Slick top, it has no lights on the top, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the lights are embedded in the inside of the car, and I think there's only 2 external lights on the back.
And you're newly in the traffic unit, been there for the last few weeks. How's that working out for you?
Oh, very good, very good.
How about some advice for our residents when you pull them over on a stop? What do you expect out of them in their demeanor, their treatment of you? And why don't you walk us through that real quick?
Well, just number one, stay in the car. Try to pull over to a safe area. Stopping in the middle of the street is not ideal. If you can find a driveway or somewhere to pull over, it'll be safer for both of us. As far as demeanor, just try to be polite and act how you would expect to be treated.
Okay. I know a lot of people want to know what they did first. How do you handle that?
Well, first of all, we get the license and registration and information first, and then a lot of the time I will go ahead and advise them, but some officers demand the information first. But
Okay.
I'll tell you, and a lot of times the people know what they did.
Okay.
So the looks on their face is like, yeah, you got me.
Okay.
So
Probably the best advice I would give residents is to give your license and registration, then ask a question, versus saying, what did I do first? And we get that all the time. But thank you for
it kind
that.
of starts it off on a bad foot.
I agree with you. Thank you very much. Good luck with the traffic unit. Boys, thank you for coming on the show. You've been watching Straight Talk with Robert Shelide. Thank you.